All right. What are we talking about? Bitcoin?
I could talk about Bitcoin all.
I don't know too much about Bitcoin. I just invest like money. That's it.
Oh shit! All right, yeah, no leaning on
Dude,
that.
we should just for the video, we should just fucking lean forward and the coffee just pours on.
Yeah.
Oh, Happy New Year!
Happy New Year.
Just for the blooper.
Yeah, just for the blooper. That would be
Why don't
good.
we just talk
That would
about
go
like
viral.
2025 and like how we want to do 5 contacts
Yeah.
a day in the plant? Just our
What are your goals for 2025?
So my goals are simple. I want to do quality over quantity. I want to do a lot of sphere deals. I do want to keep up with the real estate deals or the Zillow deals as well. I'd like to, strictly focus on taking Zillow calls 2 to 3 days a week, and then the rest just, prospecting for my own sphere business. But honestly, I want to keep up with the 5 contacts a day for sure. I definitely want to do 1 open house a weekend.
Elaborate. 5 contacts a day. What is that?
So by 5 contacts, I don't mean, following up with current clients or anything like that. I strictly cold calling. I do very minimal cold calling. I want to improve, but what I've been doing is once I close on a house, I just prospect that neighborhood. Genuinely, I say, listen, this is from Anthony Nucci, actually, great realtor, great salesman, but I call them up. I say, hey, I just sold your neighbor's house. Are you interested in selling, or would you at least be interested in hearing, the current value of your home? And you give them those 2 options, and, I really just go from there. But it's honestly better than just, cold calling a random neighborhood and asking if they want to sell. I mean, of course, that's good. I'm not closing a house every day. So if I don't just close, I'll resort to that. But that's what I want to do, 5 contacts a day. In the morning, I like, and 1 open house a weekend. The return on it isn't crazy good, but there's deals in there. I have an open house client under contract right now that I'll make good money off of. So I want to do 1 a weekend. I don't want to do 12 to 4 because that consumes most of my day. That's the prime time of the day, especially in real estate, when people want to see houses on the weekend. So 12 to 2 I really like to do. It's not too long, not too short. You still have time to do other things in the day. And I also like to follow up with those clients, the same day. So that's why, if I get out at 4, I have to drive home 20 minutes. Yeah. It's too much. And,
really worth it.
So that's what I like. But yeah, I'm interested to hear what you guys think.
Cool. Yeah. I want to touch on, though, closing deal and like prospecting that way. And it's like closing a deal. I feel like for a while I was only if I get a listing, I'm able to door knock or cold call to like circle dial the neighborhood. But I like that because it just gives you an in. And as long as you have like your core people that you're talking to, it doesn't really matter if you go to knock on someone's door and they say fuck you. Like it's just whatever. Like it's just nothing. That doesn't matter. So just go out and do that, and anything that you get out of it is a plus. That's why I look at it.
Yeah. Sweet. All right, I guess I'll level through my goals.
yeah, go for it.
But I guess to that point, I do like the circle prospecting is great in terms of like solidifying yourself as a local expert or just becoming I like to think about it as just serving a community. The one problem with us doing Zillow connections is we're so abroad. So we're taking things 45 minutes away, an hour away, 30 minutes away. And yeah, we are servicing customers or helping people, educating people, getting them to buy, accomplish their goal of buying, selling, relocating, whatever the specific goal is. But the initial problem for us is, or not even just for us, but there's no way for us to really push further in terms of servicing that neighborhood, especially if it's so out of our boundary. So my 2025 mission with real estate specifically is, well, number one, I have the volume metric, which is to help 24 people or families buy or sell a home. And that's in terms of volume. But then more specifically, I would love to ideally serve specific communities closer to my hometown. So I would say is to niche geographically not just towards like Ocean Monmouth County, but more close, probably 5 to 10 mile radius towards my neighborhood. So I grew up in Bay Head, so along that shore area would be ideal. And then regarding lifestyle goals, I do want to get my blue belt in jiu-jitsu, which is one. I got my 4th stripe the other day, which is pretty awesome.
Why is that
and
important,
then,
the blue belt?
It's just obtainable. I would just say, well, so I grew up swimming, and a big problem or challenge I had not going to college was I really lost a competitive and a team atmosphere. In terms of like a competitive atmosphere, regarding any physical fitness, and I got really sick and tired of just going to the gym. I mean, there's not, to a certain extent, it doesn't serve what doing a sport really does. So when I took that on, I began last February, and then that's kind of been my replacement for swimming. And not going to college, I completely lost the atmosphere of having a competitive atmosphere relative to a physical activity. So that was kind of why that became important to me. And then that also fuels my ability to be efficient in the workplace. Yeah, so I would say if I noticed this time over time, where if I don't do a very challenging physical activity, especially in the morning, my entire day is less productive. I even noticed this in high school with swimming, where there were periods of time where we really never got time off. It was we had 2-week breaks throughout the entire year. But during those breaks, I noticed that I wouldn't have anything after school. I wouldn't have I wouldn't have to go to practice. And then I would have the entire afternoon to complete my homework, and I wouldn't even do it. I'd procrastinate it, and then I'd push it to the next morning, and then I'd be rushing it before class. And like what I ended up noticing with that is, being more busy actually becomes a driver of getting more productive work done. Because what I would end up doing is when I did have swim practice, I would do all my homework from 9 p.m. till midnight. But then if I didn't have practice, I just wouldn't do it at all until I'd push it to the next morning, and it wouldn't be done. Or if it was done, it was poorly done.
So having a routine is good.
Yeah, routine is good.
Being regimented.
Yeah, so those are mine.
Yeah, no, I think being regimented and having that schedule that you're kind of following up on. That's why I think school was so important for me, and I clearly for you too. That was like a really good time, because now you're figuring out what's important to you, and what that is, like being good at school, being good at swim, and then just being like a good kid. You learn like your core principles there, of like don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal. And when you kind of live through that kind of life, it gives you that framework of how to be successful, I think. But then when you continue with that, and I think it's all very unique with all of us, is I went to school for a year. You guys both didn't go to college. And that is a whole new lane to kind of go down, and not going down the route of, you wake up, it's the same routine. You're going to class. You have a professor telling you what to do. Maybe you're playing a sport. You got a coach telling you what to do. So the transfer for me was so tough, because I always had a teacher or coach telling me what to do and how to be successful, to now this world where it's like, yeah, you can hire coaches and you can hire mentors, but at the end of the day, it's really up to you on if you want to be successful or not. And that's where this routine comes into play. So what kind of things have worked for you guys in this time of like, now it's really all on me, and there's no one that is going to like make me do the work?
I'll say something to that. And yeah, the whole idea between going to school and then, I mean, the ideal path or the normalized path is you go to college, you get a degree, you utilize that degree to get a good job position, and then you work for a company, and then you work your way up in that company. And, it is a good system that, has worked for decades, but, now it's become, there is definitely an affordability issue following that path. But outside of that, it's defining success. Like, success is really different for every single individual. And what I like to think about is, not in terms of success, I think the best route to learn something is to go to someone who, number one, has a proven model of systems and the experience of which they're doing something that is, proving success and productive, and then also identifying that person lives a lifestyle that you desire to live. And that's how I would define success, is really just being able to do the things that you want to do with your time. And there's nothing really holding you back to it. And I think the best approach to doing that and learning any practice is finding an individual or finding a quote-unquote mentor, who of which has done it themselves, and then is looking to give back to people who inspire to do exactly what they do with their time. And you could take this in really any approach to anything. If I want to learn jujitsu, like I've been doing, well, it's very simple. You just go to somebody who of which is experienced in the martial art, and they're willing to train and teach you everything that they've learned over the decades or the years of experience they have. Relative to real estate, Joe Oz has been a top broker with Keller Williams. He has 15 years in the industry. He partnered with Gil, and Gil lives a lifestyle that I inspire to live. It's like those are the people who of which trained me to get into real estate production, and then I've learned all sorts of life lessons in terms of, both in the real estate world of getting into production, but then also, other life practices. If you want to learn literally anything, just find one person who does it at a high level, and of which is successful in that career path or that lifestyle path. And simply by following their model, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to do what they're doing, learn what they've done, and then you can add on your own personal, parts to whatever journey that looks like.
Yeah.
That's my take.
No, love that.
So the way I would define success is just happiness and health. Health is the most important thing. You could be a billionaire on your deathbed and you're not thinking about your money, you're thinking about your life, your family, your relationships, right? But to go more into depth on that, I just really think that, whatever you're interested in, go for it, and get into a routine. And, a routine is great. College teaches you that. College is definitely a great thing, but you don't need it, right? I think that you can, not go to college. You can go to trade school or anything like that. But, whatever you like, go for it. Take that risk. And, you're going to learn most things just through experience, and you have to come to terms with that, right? Like when I got into the business, I was nervous. I studied super hard for the test, and I got into the field, and I was like, what is this, right? So I came to terms with that. And, if you just wake up and, you have a set schedule and, you're not stressing and you just genuinely enjoy it, that's what you got to do. And it's a trial and error period. You're not gonna find it overnight. So, while you're young, do different things, do multiple things, just whatever it is. And then once you taste that success, that means you're happy. And, that's when I would go full throttle on whatever that is. And a routine teaches you that, right? And going back to health as well, go to the gym, run, whatever, eat healthy. It's not necessarily exercising. So yeah, that's my answer. Just get into a routine. Take it as a trial and error period. Just try different things out, and whatever you like, go for it. And yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, well, I got one thing too. So I think you want to go?
No, go.
So I was talking to this one my friend of mine that's coming out of the Marines, and he was kind of just asking me, like, whatever, you're in the professional field, what are your suggestions towards me to trying to get into business? And I was just like, look, you're young, you're sharp, just pick an industry, learn everything you possibly can about it. I think that's where finding a mentor would come into place. Learn everything you possibly can and just show up every day. Find that routine and show up and put in the hours, and you're gonna be successful. You just have to stick to the basics of your routine, and what that routine comes from your mentor. So if you find someone like Gil, or you said this is a person that I would want to like trade my life with almost, and say, okay, what would you do in my scenario? Just be a sponge to all those people, and you'll be able to learn like that and really explode.
Yeah, I think it is that simple, just being a sponge and then putting yourself in the rooms of people that know what they're doing. And then the one thing I was taking off what Steven was saying, or Steve, take your biggest fucking risks in your 20s. It's the easiest time to fuck up and do anything that of which you're inspired to become, because it only gets harder the older you get. The older you get, the more responsibilities you're going to take on, the more the bills stack up, the more liabilities you have to take the same risk. When you're in your 20s, you can live with 5 dudes in a 1-bedroom apartment and budget as heavily as you can. But when you're in your 30s and then you're considering, getting into a relationship and then potentially having a family, you just end up stacking on these liabilities, and it becomes 10 times harder to take that same risk of exiting what most likely the corporate world and trying to take an individualized path. So, to be able to take that risk early and young, as scary as it is, just know it's going to get even scarier the older you get. And that's my biggest take. Just take the biggest risks in your 20s, because you have time to fall back on. You're not going to have that to fall back on when you're in your 30s, when you're in your 40s, when you're in your 50s, and then you have 10 times more liabilities to come with that as well. If all were to fail right now for me, I can lean back on anything. I can get a job, I can go to college, I can do any of these things, and I'm going to be exactly where I was a couple years ago. The only difference is I have experience on top of that, whatever I was spending my time pursuing the last couple years. Mm-hmm. And, you could take that experience in any field. So my biggest take is just take risks when you're in your 20s, and it's only going to get harder to do that.
I completely agree. I think you need to take risks in your 20s, and the obviously those risks they're either going to pay off or they're not going to pay off. So it's either you're going to be exactly where you were when you started with some experience, or you're going to actually make it. So I think taking risks is super important. When you're actually taking the risk and you're living with 5 dudes and you're going on that budget and you're kind of just working all the time, what would you have to say to someone who's like, bro, I need balance in my life. I need the balance. I need the work-life balance. I need to be able to go on these trips, go out every Friday night. What would you say to those people?
Well, first of all, what I would say is when you're 40, you're not going to have that that lifestyle. You're going to have a family. You're not going to be going out on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 3 nights in a row, right? And you're still going to have time, and that's where we can go back to the routine. And if you time block properly, if you get into a routine and you have a set schedule daily, you're going to have that time and you'll make time. There's time for everything. And honestly, if all failed, I could lean back on my parents tomorrow and I'd go to school, right? It would suck, and I'd be 3 years behind, everyone my age. But when you put it like that, when I'm 30 and my friends are 33, it's not going to be a big gap like that. It's really not. You're going to be caught up at that point. So, of course, when you're in your 20s, your time is more valuable when you're trying just to build a plan and all of that. But just don't be scared. And like I said before, it's a trial and error period. It's not going to happen overnight. 87% of agents quit in their first 2 years. That's crazy. And you just have to get through that. And, once you do, it gets better. And there's always times where you're thinking about quitting, right? But, if you stay committed and you stay with your routine, your day-to-day, you're going to get there. And, like Ethan was saying, if you just stick and copy and paste what your mentor is doing, it's bound to happen. So yeah, that's what I would say. If you create that routine and you time block properly, you're going to have that time. Especially when you're young, you have all of that energy. It's all about the routine, man.
Hell yeah.
My first point / objection is, I think balance is complete bullshit. I see from a philosophical standpoint, we're all just computers, and what you know is every single experience that we live through, you're just uploading code into your brain, and by putting yourself through more experiences, you're just uploading more code to then solve bigger problems down the road. And I also think in terms of like the fear factor of it, the more scared you are to do something, the more you should probably do it in a sense. And then the more you do it consistently, the less fearful you're going to become of doing that. Anything that I've tried for the first time was scary to do. But then once you do it consistently and then you get good at it, there's no fear in that action at all. And this, in sales, we could take this to cold calling. I have no problem picking up the phone, calling someone out of the blue, and then starting a conversation, whether or not they're going to say, fuck you, and hang up on me. Whether it's jiu-jitsu. I was terrified walking in and going in completely inexperienced. But now I know a pretty base level of skill sets because I've shown up for 10 months now, and I've uploaded some code into my computer software, the more you do something, the more comfortable you're going to become doing it. And then also the more you do it, the more experience you're going to have to then do it at a higher level down the road. And that can be applied to anything in life. So I think that, your brain's just a computer. You want to upload some code, and, the more you try different things, the better you're going to get at anything. And that's just a logic. Not logic, but that's just how life works. Suck it up.
Yeah, it's like Neo in the Matrix, where he's like, I know kung fu, like that part. But perfect. I mean, anything else to say here? We're all good. We gotta go to. Are we going to this lunch thing?
I mean, we're a little late.
We're a little late, but
I'm
we're gonna.
I'm gonna go better my body. Stick to my routine.
Perfect, boys.
Some fucking tequila.
Yeah, right. Hell yeah. So wait, where do the people find you?
Is it Hinds Ethan? Hinds Ethan on Instagram.
Just Steven Lundberg with 2 G's at the end, baby.
Damn, people might need to help how they spell Lundberg. All right, boys. Good stuff. Let's go.
Win the year.